Hello, everybody. My name is Sammy. I am the Events and Education Coordinator at Goosefoot. We do all of our social media, our marketing, a lot of our do all of our events. When the pandemic first hit, we pivoted pretty quickly. We did have to cancel the first month of workshops that were scheduled at the time, but we did come out with a whole slate of new classes specifically geared towards helping small businesses get online as quickly as possible. And just like this, they are recorded. You can go view them whenever you like. But obviously video is pretty important, not just for the current times where it's still tricky to meet with people, tricky to get out and go do things. But even pandemic aside, video is so important because it's one of the fastest growing types of content in the entire interwebs. I'm gonna work my chair into place here. So we're going to talk about video. Obviously, you guys have all probably been doing Zooms and meetings, stuff like this, but there's a lot of other ways you could be using video in your businesses. So I see a couple of people are saying, hello, hi, everybody. While we're going through this, I would really love if you guys would introduce yourselves in chat, let everybody know, what your name is, what kind of business you do, and what you're really hoping to learn about video today so that I can make sure I cover everything. So as with all of my classes, this is a workshop, not a lecture. So please feel free to ask questions at any point in time. I'm connected to the internet, pull things up, show you guys different kinds of things. So don't feel the need to hold your questions till the end. I know I forget frequently when I'm doing that sort of thing. And of course, I'm not the fount of eternal knowledge. There are a lot of you that have been dabbling in video currently. Or you've seen other people, you've seen videos that you really like. So if you guys have any tips or tricks to share with each other, any sites that you really like to use, specific tools, please feel free to do so. These workshops are always more fun when the chat is interacting with each other and me. And lastly, probably don't need to include this, but I'm going to anyway. I do have some mentions of specific equipment or software later in here, just because that's what I have experience with and people always inevitably ask. Not paid by any of these, and I'm not saying you have to use any of these. Please use whichever systems or softwares work best for you. People just always ask, so I always include them. A Rookie's Guide to Retirement. Awesome. All right, so why video? This is probably preaching to the choir. You already know video is important. That's why you signed up for this workshop. But just to cover a few bases, as I mentioned earlier, video is one of the top trending types of content on every platform right now. Pretty much every platform pushes it farther. It shows up better with the algorithm. It's a really great way to showcase the humans that make up your organization or business. A lot of other content types, photographs, text, are very more impersonal or they're product focused, but you can't really make a video without the human element, whether you're on screen or your voice is there or you're interviewing somebody. It's a really great way to put a face to your business. And that's very important because we as human beings don't trust businesses, but we do trust people. And as a small business, you are people. Your entire organization is just made up of people who are really passionate about whatever subject matter you're covering. Yeah, cool. Sorry, I'm reading chat. One of the phrases I like to throw out a lot is pictures say 1,000 words, but videos speak volumes. So you can get a lot more across in a very small amount of video that you would need paragraphs upon paragraphs of text to explain or lots and lots of images to get across. You can learn something in a couple of minutes of video that would probably take you an entire book to read. So it's pretty effective at communicating an idea in a much more digestible format. I already mentioned, but it's much more highly shared by individuals and it's very favored by the algorithm. So if you're seeing your social medias, Instagram, Facebook, whatever, you're seeing those drop off, you're not getting as much attention as you like, video is a great way to start tapping into that again, because it is so popular, they are sharing it very widely. A lot of people are visual learners, a lot of people in our society. So especially if you have educational content, video is a great way to get that across, because then you can see something, you can see someone actively doing something in a lot more effective of a way than a written out, description. And also, there's never been a lower barrier to entry. Video is very intimidating for a lot of people. You think you have to have the fanciest equipment, think you have to have like a professional studio setup. That is not true at all. Pretty much all of us have video cameras carrying around in our pockets these days. Cameras are cheaper than they have ever been, even on the higher end. Equipment is easier to find and cheaper than it has ever been to acquire. And there's so many tools out there to make it so easy for you, so you don't have to have a college degree or years of experience in order to do editing right or to craft videos. So it's a great time to get started. James, you do drone video. That is so cool. That is something I want to get into much more. So some of the things we're going to be talking about today is overcoming the biggest hurdles and how you do that. Just a brief look into equipment and how to get started with that. Some filming tips, different types of videos you could be making, and where to post those videos. So I'd love to hear in chat, what's stopping you? If you haven't made any videos yet, why? What is stopping you so far? We all have some sort of barrier. It might be inexperience, it might be equipment, it might just be lack of knowledge. I'm gonna wait just a minute to see if we get some replies in chat. How to edit footage to the final product, don't know how to start. How to share a large file is too big for email, inexperience, best length of video. Yeah, all absolutely valid. Something I haven't seen come up in chat, but I think is probably the biggest barrier to entry for most people is fear. Being on camera is scary. Public speaking is one of the biggest, most common fears in our society, and talking on video is public speaking. You don't know who's going to see it or when. Another comment that we see a lot in here is what kind of equipment you should get. I don't have the technical skills. I don't know how to edit. I don't know how to write scripts. I don't know how to do any of this. Execution. Where do I start? What do I say? And then insecurity. Nobody cares about what I have to say. I'm not important enough. I'm not interesting enough. All of these are, let's see, I make a lot of personal videos for my personal Facebook. I'm researching on how to use videos on my website and LinkedIn. Yeah, lighting is really important. So with all of these, I'm going to go kind of line by line through most of these, but with the fear, the biggest thing is you just have to do it. You're never, ever going to rationalize your way out of the scared feeling. It's nerve-wracking to be on video. Even my boss, the first several videos she had done, the workshops wise, she's like, can you just be there just in case? Like, I don't want to mess it up. I don't know what I'm doing. And when I first started doing videos much longer ago, every single time I was a mess before I started the video. I'd be pacing back and forth and being like, oh God, I'm going to forget everything. I don't know what I'm doing. Nobody's going to care. And you just have to do it. It's going to be messy at first. You are going to learn. Everybody had to start from somewhere. Even people who do video professionally full time, if you go back and look at their early stuff, it's not great. The pacing's off. The lighting might not be good. The equipment not be great. You learn as you go, and you can't ever get better if you don't start. So equipment wise, all you really need to start is natural lighting and a smartphone. Natural lighting is always best. Never direct lighting. You don't want to film at like high noon or something. But like earlier in the morning or later in the afternoon is usually pretty good. It gets a little tricky around here because, you know, we have so many cloudy days. But that, as long as it's not a dark day, that diffuse lighting can actually look really nice. There is a reason a lot of videos, especially amateur videos, are filmed in people's cars, because it's a natural sound box. The sound is quieter, controlled, it bounces pretty well. And then the lighting is also perfectly diffused. You get really nice lighting in a car. When you're filming, quiet environment is pretty crucial. A lot of people have, hearing troubles, and the more muffled you are, the more other noises are going on, your audio is going to cut out really badly. It's going to be really hard to understand you. So obviously I'm filming in my apartment. Nobody else is here. There are times where I am filming video and my roommate is home, but she's in her room. If you have small children at home, shut the door, ask them to give you some time, or do it at a time where they're out on a play date, or again, go to your car, something else. But the quiet environment is pretty crucial. I will say this right up front. I really want you guys to understand me here. You can upgrade your equipment as you go, but please, dear God, do not leave this workshop and run out and buy a bunch of expensive, very fancy equipment. That's one of the worst things you can do, because your content is more important than your quality really early on. So you can have, lower grade visuals as long as you're delivering really good content and you're enjoyable to watch and listen to. So worst thing you could do is to buy a bunch of really fancy equipment, get really overwhelmed, never touch any of it, and then you're doubly frustrated because you don't have the skills yet, you don't know what you're doing, and you spent all of this money on stuff that's just sitting there and you should be doing it. So just, get started with what you've got. James said too late. Fair enough. That does definitely happen sometimes. But for those of you that haven't made that investment yet, just use what you've got right now to get started. Always, always, always prioritize the content over flashy aesthetics. Again, you can improve as you go. I've got a shot of my setup here later. But that was after me doing videos regularly for almost an entire year. So grow very slowly. When you are ready to start leveling up your equipment, honestly, the first improvement should be video quality. On a lot of platforms, people watch videos silently. So audio is still very crucial, but the visuals are everything nowadays. So you want to improve your video quality first. One of the biggest things, even before you start buying new equipment, that you could improve is considering your angles. I'm sure we've all seen it on the many, many Zoom calls we've been in the last year, but a lot of folks use their laptop at desk height and their webcam is on their laptop. So instead of up here where I am slightly above my line of sight, their camera might be, sorry for the movement, they'll be down here. Nobody looks good at this angle. Nobody looks flattering. So if you ever see behind the scenes shots of professionals recording video just on their laptop, one of the things they'll do is they'll have a giant stack of books so that their camera is up higher. Anything just as simple as that. Angle is one of the fastest things you could fix that make a huge improvement. I look a lot better from up here than I did from down here. So consider your angle, get a chair, get a footstool, get a stack of books, whatever, just get it up higher. And again, on lighting, if you can position yourself directly in front of a window, I've got this really nice sliding glass door here. And one of the earliest videos I recorded for a different project, I actually went ahead and set up a tripod and sat right in front of the sliding glass door so that I would have the net light coming towards me. If you have a window behind your setup, yeah, good video dating hint too. Yeah, exactly. If you have a window right behind your setup, that helps a lot. Go ahead and open up those blinds. When you get farther, there are other lighting kits you can do. And in that case, then you start closing the blinds so you have more control. It's a semi-cloudy day, so I've left my blinds open. But if you've been to any of my workshops in the past, you might have seen I've jumped up and closed them because the lighting does change pretty rapidly when it's natural lighting, and I needed more control. And I do have a better lighting setup. Second thing you should do once you fix the angle is consider upgrading your devices. Pretty much everybody in my office has like older iPhones, and the video quality isn't the best. When I started my business doing web design and marketing full time, I went out and bought like an $800 smartphone so that I did have like, it had the dual cameras so that I could get a lot of different effects. It does really well in low lighting. I'd spent a lot of time looking into cameras on my phone, but this is just one option. You could buy a better 1080p or 4K webcam. This webcam I'm using right now is 1080p. It's just a higher quality. The webcam that comes default on your tablet or your laptop or the front facing camera on your phone, with some exceptions, if you have the newer stuff, this doesn't apply. But the default camera that comes with your stuff is never the best quality. So even if you already have a webcam on your laptop or tablet, I would consider upgrading to a USB one that just plugs right into your system and you get a much better quality. 4K is 4 times the quality of 1080p, so that's a really nice, crisp, clear shots. I very deliberately do not have a 4K webcam because I'm not a big wearer of makeup, and nobody needs to see my face in that high quality of detail. So, balance what your needs are. I do, on the other hand, again, because I've been doing this for a couple of years at this point, I do have a DSLR that when I'm doing craft streams in my free time, I will plug in as a secondary webcam. And this is 4K, but that's because I do want that detail on the craft project I'm doing, because I tend to do small detailed things. I don't use this as my daily webcam because, again, nobody needs my face in 4K. Next up is lighting. That somebody said the biggest thing they need to learn is lighting. And I will be honest, I'm still learning a lot about lighting too. It is such a big thing and such minute details can change it. But one of the fastest and cheapest things you can do is to buy yourself a ring light. So ring lights, exactly as the sound, they are a ring that has lights all the way around the edges of it. You can get them pretty cheaply online. If you get a 10 to 12 inch ring light, that's really great when you're just filming stuff on your face. How those work is you put them just in front of your camera. So if I had a ring light for this, I would want my webcam to be just behind it. A lot of ring lights have some sort of mounting apparatus for your phone or a webcam on the back end of it. You don't want the ring light behind it because that will blow your image out. You want it in front of it. But you also want it at least a couple of feet away from you, because when I first started upgrading my setup, I got a ring light. I have a really big one so that it can light up the whole room. And I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I am a very pale white female. The ring light alone absolutely washed me out. I was completely pale, like sheet white. Like, I know I'm pale, but I'm not that pale. And it did not look great. And it was because with the way my setup is in the corner of my living room, I couldn't get far enough away from the light. So that's why I'm saying 10 to 12 would be a lot better for most of you. Don't go for the biggest one you can find unless you're lighting an entire room. On an even better level, soft boxes or DIY lighting kits are your friend. So when I upgraded from that ring light that wasn't quite doing it for me, now I have some photography soft boxes that I take when I'm doing photo shoots. And I actually have those set up pretty much full time in my living room because I'm doing a lot more video. So I have a picture of that in a second, but soft boxes are these giant light boxes that you see on, photo shoots. So it's a nice big light and it's got a cover on it so that it's diffused. I'm not getting that direct harsh light on myself, but even that isn't enough. I've got this, I'll move my camera in a second, But with soft boxes, you really need two on opposite sides from you. Again, they need to be a little bit away. For a long time, I had them directly next to my computer, and I was again having that same washed out problem. And so the only way I can get right now, my color balance is really nice. And the way I get this is my soft boxes are physically as far away as they can get in my space. I have the light directly above me on. If I just had this light on, I would look like a ghost because the light comes down from above and it makes my eyes look really sunken and terrible, and I look very sick. And then I also have another light over here in the background on, because if my background isn't lit, then again, I look really washed out. So I actually have 4 separate lights on me right now. In the summertime, it gets very, very hot. But for now, it's great. And it does a lot to improve my image. If you guys go look back at some of our older workshops, you can see how much my light has improved since then, because again, I'm continuously learning and slowly upgrading my kit. You can absolutely, again, buy softbox kits online, but you can also make your own DIY for like under $100 at any hardware store. I have a link right here on the bottom of the slide, and I will be sending all these slides out to everybody who took the class. So don't feel like you have to hurry and scramble down this very long link. But Wistia, in my opinion, is a really great starter place in general. Let me go over the lighting interviews graphic, and then I will answer your question, James. So let me move my face out of the way a bit. So Wishia's got this really great example on how to light interviews. So again, you have 2 lights on either side, slightly in front of the camera, because if they're behind the camera, you get a really unpleasant backlit effect. It needs to be a couple of feet away from the subject. And then you also need to have a light behind them, because again, if there's no light behind them and there's just light on them, the background gets really dark, which might be good depending on what you're doing, but for the most part, it looks really strange and it can make them look really washed out. So make sure you have a light behind them. Make sure you have 2 lights to either side, slightly behind the camera. And make sure the camera is slightly above eye level so that you get those angles and you get the lighting really nicely. James, best camera in your opinion for a laptop, what are you using? There are so many webcams out there, and honestly, I've met very few that are bad, but I really like the Logitech webcams. I think they're really high quality, and I've had this one for 6 or 8 years now, and I've never once regretted it. So it's a Logitech 1080p HD camera. I don't remember the exact brand. But if you look for Logitech 1080p, it's like the first one that comes up. Okay, so once you've improved your video quality and your lighting, the second thing to improve is your audio. Again, especially on social media, a lot of people watch video without audio on, so your video needs to work without sound. But once you've got them in trance, they will turn the sound on. So make sure your sound is your next best thing. Or if you're just doing voiceover content, obviously you don't need to worry about camera and lighting. So sound should be your first improvement. You know, people will watch or not watch your video based on the video quality, but they will only continue watching if your audio quality is really top notch. They need to be able to understand you. So again, your built-in mic on your phone, on your laptop, on your tablet, whatever you're using, your built-in mic is always garbage. It's always one of the worst quality mics you could ever get. And a good mic does not need to be expensive. I've got it down here at the bottom, but the mic I use for these is a Fifine K669 USB microphone. So it just plugs right into my computer. I don't need extra edit. I don't need extra equipment or anything like that. And this only cost me about $30. I also have a mic stand because I, as you can see, talk with my hands a lot. And when it was down on my desktop, I knocked it over a lot. But there's a lot of different kinds of mics you can do. You can use dynamic or condenser mics. That's the traditional, what you think of a mic. This is a condenser mic. Basically point it at the subject and it'll capture the sound pretty indiscriminately. You got lavalier microphones. Those are the lapel microphones that you clip onto somebody. And it's really good at pretty much, as long as it's, you know, within like a foot or so of their mouth and it is pointed at their face, it will capture pretty much only their audio. These are really great if you're doing interviews with people, or even if you're just talking yourself and you don't necessarily want a condenser mic. The lav mic, especially if you have a portable one with a pack that plugs in and put it in your back pocket, those can be pretty portable. And then lastly, there's the shotgun mic. These are the ones you see on like professional film sets. They can either be carried like on a boom arm, or they can be on the camera itself, but it's basically just a giant fuzzy long mic that points directly at whatever it's trying to capture. These are the most portable because nobody has to wear anything, but they're also like a much higher level than probably any of you need. So I would stick to either a dynamic or condenser mic or a lav mic, whatever most fits your style and your comfort level. Some of them can get pretty confusing. My lav mics have a very specific plug-in, and I actually had to get an adapter to make it work with my fancier camera. Some of them have to be plugged into a soundboard, and then you have to have another thing that actually controls them. A lot of them, again, my mic that I'm using is just a USB microphone. So I just plugged it into my computer. I didn't have to install any software. I didn't have to do anything fancy with it. It works fine for me. So there's different levels, different ease. Always think about where you are recording your video. Outdoor spaces are very hard to control the audio for. Years and years and years ago, I thought it would be really fun to do a Q&A video that I had planned and do it at Deception Pass so that I'd have this nice, lovely background. Went up there, filmed a couple different takes of my Q&A, got home, couldn't use it for the video whatsoever because the wind in the Deception Pass was rustling my mic. You could not hear my words at all. All you could hear was the wind. It was terrible. And I'm not interested or professional enough to do ADR, at voice later. Can't do that. I just had to refilm it in my boring bedroom. But also if you're outdoors, cars can go by, planes, there could be kids screaming, lots of other noise, and it's really annoying to have to start and stop constantly. So outdoor can be pretty, but it is very difficult to control. Indoor spaces, again, I mentioned this earlier, but they need to be free of other people and noise because you want to have control of your audio as much as possible. There are ways to edit out audio, but that is such a time crunch and it's so unnecessary when you could just be thoughtful before you start filming. It may seem silly, but genuinely many professionals who do audio stuff, whether it's podcasts, voice actors, commercials, anything like that, they genuinely frequently record in their closets because all of the clothes on pretty much every wall helps really dampen the reverb and feedback. This room here is not the best for me to film in because it is it's about medium size. And there's a rug here, but otherwise the floors are hardwood. The walls are all, stucco. There's not any fabric or any foam to help dampen the noise. Professional recording booths tend to have walls completely covered in foam to help absorb those excess noises. I know I get them in my videos, but this is what I'm working with. But if you're just recording voice audio, if you don't have the means or equipment to do a whole professional audio booth setup, genuinely consider maybe just recording in your closet so that it's nice and quiet. Music is one of the trickiest parts of audio for videos. It can make or break the video. We all know music evokes certain feelings. It emphasizes certain points. When a music is synced up perfectly to the beats of a video, it's just fantastic. But be very careful, especially for amateurs. A lot of music, pretty much almost all of it, is copyrighted. So you cannot legally use it in your videos for any business purposes unless you've licensed it. And licensing is very, very, very expensive. So you can't have a radio on in the background while you're talking. You can't play your favorite, top 40 song. I, in the past, have considered putting music at the beginning of these workshops before I key in so that when you log in, it's not just dead silent, but music's really fussy and I don't really want to deal with that. So I don't. That's why the beginnings are still really quiet. So there are a lot of places you can get free or cheaply licensed music to use. or even sound effects. But when you're starting out, don't feel the need to have music in your videos. That's something you can grow into as you learn and explore, but be careful of any music sources around you. You don't want to get yourself in trouble. You're right. Facebook shut down a good one. Yeah, even private. So be careful of that. But yeah, and then at the bottom, I just have the stats on my current microphone, because that's a question I get every time I talk about anything like this. And my next planned microphone, as you can, I only put that in there so you can see, you know, started off pretty cheap, and I'm going to be growing continuously. So I got the lighting kit within the last several months. And this Audio Technica mic that I want is 130, which isn't that much, but I'm waiting for it. I have a planned like budget schedule. I have to edit in with drone. Yeah, so I would look at what do you mean, so you're trying to figure out a best webcam to edit in with your drone? I would just make sure your webcam footage is the same quality as your drone footage. So if your drone records in 1080p, get a 1080p. If it records in 4K, get a 4K. Just make sure they match so that it doesn't look too jarring when you switch between the footage. Equipment, genuinely, equipment can be really easy and fun. I dropped my thing. Where did it go? There it is. So again, I said most of us have cameras in our pockets, smartphones. This thing that's on the left side here, it's called an octopus tripod, even though it just has 3 legs. And the really fun thing about these is, unlike most tripods where it's like, all right, this is my setup, the octopus tripods bend into whatever shape you want them to be. So you can get it up to whatever height you want. If you need it to be a little lower, you can bend them so that it's a little more stable. You can wrap it around a pole or a fence post or a bed post. I find these very, very nice. They're very adaptable and very easy to use. My roommate steals this constantly. So I would highly recommend getting an octopus tripod, and they're super cheap too. Again, go ahead and use your phone or your tablet, or if you get a webcam, it's really important to have eye contact with your audience. When you're looking away constantly, when you're reading off of a script that's really uninviting and it doesn't draw people in, but when you're looking at them, it's far more easy to connect. So until you get experience and you're used to looking at the camera, a good trick that I've got on the right side here is maybe put googly eyes on your camera on either side of the lens so that you can look into the googly eyes as practice. Obviously, that's only one take. There's plenty of, valid filming techniques that actually have the person being filmed deliberately not looking at the camera. Whatever it is, just be consistent, and eye contact genuinely is pretty inviting and connecting. Is it goat proof? I'm not sure anything in the world is goat proof. Goats, as far as I'm aware, and that all of the experience I've had with goats, they will eat anything, but it is pretty sturdy. This is very, very hard rubber. So I do not certify it against being goat proof, but it is helpful. Maybe if you keep it up away from the goats. So again, here is my setup. Again, this is after a year of regularly making content. When I first started doing the videos, I was purely relying on natural light and the one terrible light above my face. But I've got my 2 soft boxes. Again, what I learned is they needed to be as physically far away from me in my small amount of space as they could. Otherwise, I get really washed out. They used to be right next to the computer. I've got my mic on a tripod or on a mic stand so that I can adjust it as I need. And I've got my computer. So with my webcam right up above me. So this is what my setup looks like. This took me a while to assemble, and it was very piecemeal. Do not run out and buy a bunch of expensive equipment right off the bat. So some technical tips. Never fear editing. As long as you don't delete the raw footage, you can always start again. You can always try again. You can always try new things. Mistakes genuinely make you look more human. You're not a production company. You don't have years and years of experience and an entire editing team to make your videos perfect. It's okay to make mistakes. You will grow over time as you do things. My videos are not perfect, but you're learning and you're trying. There's a couple of different ways you could approach it. You could either film repeatedly until you get it all perfectly in one take. This is definitely how my early videos on my personal YouTube channel went. I would just film it over and over until I didn't stumble over my words, until I said everything perfectly, until I had the pace the way I wanted it to. And then I would just use that one take to make the video, and then just cut off all the excess. But there's also a lot of really cool video editing apps for pretty much every single software or device you possibly could be using. If you have an iOS, iMovie is genuinely really great, and I'm pretty sure it comes free with all of the setup. It's nice and easy to use. It's easy to pick up, I should say. Editing is always tough. It is always going to take you time. Editing is honestly the bigger time suck in any filming project. Last winter, I made a lot of commercials for several businesses in the Coupeville area. I was filming at each business for a max of 2 hours, but usually much less time. That included setup and coordinating with the business owner. And then it took me, and at the end, we had a 3-minute video-ish, 3 minutes or under for each business. Those 3-minute videos took me well over 8 hours each to edit. Editing, anybody who does video will tell you, editing is the biggest time investment. Always budget a lot of time for editing. I think the industry standard is 1 hour of editing for every 1 minute of finished video. But that is for somebody who knows what they're doing, not for somebody who is just learning. Give yourself a lot of time to edit, especially when you're learning the software as well. You need to be kind to yourself, and you need to give yourself time to do that. If you're editing on an Android tablet or phone, something mobile, Cyberlink is a pretty good editing app. But honestly, whatever's top rated in your mobile app store for editing will probably do you fine. Editing my favorite part, but also the most challenging. Amen, Shannon. I love editing. It's so much fun, and I'm learning so much every single time I open it, but oh my God, it takes so much time. As far as what I use for editing, I use Adobe Premiere Pro because I already pay for the entire Adobe suite. So it's something I already own without paying extra for. As you start out, I would not recommend it. It is the most robust system. Adobe Premiere Pro is what like actual movies use to edit their stuff. You can do pretty much anything with it. On that caveat, it's really hard to learn. There's so much going on in it. Every time I open up, I'm deeply confused as to what I'm doing. It's really overwhelming, and it's really quick to turn you off very, very quickly. So that is an option, and that is probably what you will eventually grow into. But there are a lot of apps and software out there that are developed specifically to make editing as easy as possible. There are a lot that use AI learning to help do a lot of the work for you. Give those a try. There's so much out there. If you do want to use a very specific software, if you do want to jump into the deep end like I did, LinkedIn Learning is a phenomenal tool. It used to be lynda.com, and now it's just rebranded as LinkedIn Learning. They have in-depth videos on pretty much anything you could ever want to learn, including a lot of editing software or just editing basics in general outside of specific software, best practices, how to do specific things. I personally taught myself how to use Adobe Premiere Pro by following very closely to a LinkedIn Learning course. I had it open on one monitor and consistently paused, tried to do it on my screen, went back and rewatched it and did it again and again and again and again until I got it. It's a fantastic tool. And if you have a Snow Isle Libraries library card, you can get perfectly free access to it. I have a link to it later in the resources section. But if you don't have a library card, one, you should get one. It's free and anybody can. But two, if you don't want to, you can pay for LinkedIn Learning as well. Those videos are really great. I have some specific ones recommended later. I really, really appreciate the tool no matter what you end up using for yourself. So execution tips. When you are crafting a video, figuring out what you want to showcase, what you want to talk about, keep in mind, almost everyone knows much less about your business than you do. So when you're kind of running dry on ideas, remember that it seems really boring to you because you do it every single day, but your average person does not know what goes into your job. Lots of things can be really cool because it's novel. Depending on what industry you're in, people can be really invested in what you do. The flip side of that is be careful about how you're disclosing things. If any acronyms you might be using, you can lose people really quickly because you're working from a foundation of knowledge and you make presumptions about what's common knowledge, what everyone already knows. So you might skip over a key piece of knowledge that somebody needs to understand what you're talking about, and you just assume they have it. And so you keep talking and they have no idea where you're coming from. So if possible, I would have somebody look at your concept, your script, or your video that does not work in your industry, does not know anything about your industry, and make sure it makes sense to them. Excuse me, I'm gonna drink water. But yeah, I can't tell you, especially government is really bad about this. They use acronyms up the wazoo and nobody knows what those acronyms are. So be careful about how you're talking about things so that you're as approachable as possible. Or conversely, if you are talking to industry specifics, make sure you're gearing your piece to whichever audience you're actually targeting. People love to see how the sausage is made. There's constant books, TV shows, everything about it. Everybody loves to know what goes into the background. I'm not kidding you. Me and a lot of my friends have all watched this hour and 45-minute, 2-hour video on how fast passes work at Disneyland. None of us care about Disney and none of us care about fast passes, but it was crafted so interestingly. And it was so interesting to see all these different parts and how it went into it that we all watched the entire video. So don't be afraid to show how things happen for you, what goes into the work that you put out, what your backstory is, why you went into this, what's going on in your world that makes what you do possible. Make sure you prepare what you want to say by writing out an outline or notes, but don't over rehearse. The more you practice it, there's a point where you practice it enough that you can confidently talk about what you want to talk about smoothly and easily. If you continue practicing, you end up just sounding really robotic and really stiff. You start, all the kind of life drains out of what you're saying. You also don't want to have an exact word for word script in front of you because, again, eye contact is really important. And if you are only reading what's on your screen and your eyes are nowhere near your camera, people can tell that, and it's not inviting. It doesn't connect you with people, which is really the point of video. So storyboard out what you want to happen in your video, write a rough outline of what you want to cover so that if you lose your place, you can consult your notes really quick to get you back on track. I constantly look down at my slides and then right back up at the camera, but don't overdo it. Ask your customers what they've always wondered. If you're wondering what to make a video on, ask your audience if you've already got one, what it is that you're interested in. What kind of stuff would you like to see me talk about? If anybody has come to my classes the last several weeks, pretty much every class I end with, let me know what classes you guys would like to see. Because then you can know for sure that somebody's going to be interested in the video that you put out. And make sure you take the time to tell people what it is you love about your business. Every single one of you cares deeply about what you're doing. Otherwise, you would go work for somebody else because working for somebody else is always easier. Why are you doing this and not something else? Why are you doing it for yourself? What about your product or your service makes you really passionate? What about your business as a whole is really exciting? This is the time to brag about yourself and your business. Give people that introduction video. That's really important. Insecurity tips. You are always your biggest critic. You are always going to notice things, see things, think things that no one else is ever going to notice. I regularly do videos as a side project outside of Goosefoot. And I will constantly look at something and go, oh God, I look terrible. My hair is doing a stupid thing. You can see my double chin. My skin is weird today. I'm stuttering and using filler words a lot. And God, my voice is annoying. Is that what everybody hears every time they listen to me? Oh my God, I'm so sorry that other people have to listen to me. And then I'll post the video because I need to post a video, and I don't have time to make a whole new one. And none of my friends notice a single thing in there. All of my friends are just like, oh, cool video, thanks. You are always going to be way, way, way harsher on yourself than anybody else is ever going to be. So at some point, you can think all these things. Obviously, I don't have the best tips for turning those things off entirely, but at some point, you do just need to say, all right, shut up, we're doing it anyway. I'll give you this. Professionals cannot watch themselves on camera either. I do work with a lot of celebrities in different capacities. I work at conventions with them. Almost none of them watch the projects they are in. Adam Driver, who is a huge name right now, has never once watched a single movie that he's ever made, because watching yourself on camera is incredibly awkward. When you're doing your own editing, you are going to see yourself and hear yourself over and over and over again. Goes kind of back into that you're your biggest critic. But if you think you look or sound terrible, I promise it's just you. People aren't going to think that about you. The average person prefers videos 15 to 20 minutes long. It depends on the platform. So I'll talk about video length in a bit, Shannon, but it really, really depends on what the purpose of the video is and what platform you're going to be posting it on. Start with a smile before you hit record. When I came onto this workshop today, first thing I did once I got all settled in, I unmuted my mic, I took a couple deep breaths, and then I put a big smile on my face, and then I hit load camera, because it gets me automatically in an upbeat mood. I'm more interesting to watch and entertain. It reaches my eyes, and it genuinely affects the tone of my voice. So, start with a smile. It's okay if it goes away later, but start with a smile when you hit record. Don't smile after you hit record. That's going to change how your brain works. But just give yourself a big smile, like, I can do this. I got this. Keep in mind, I think this changes depending on what source you're reading, but it takes 10,000 hours of something to become an expert. No one is expecting you to be an expert at videos, whether that is filming and recording them or editing them. You are not expected to be an expert until years and years and years after doing something. It is okay to be an amateur. Everybody started somewhere. Give yourself some grace and patience to get there. You cannot learn, you cannot grow, you cannot improve without first doing. Keep in mind, your audience already loves you and supports you. You have followers on social media, you have regular customers to your business, you have friends and family who know you and they want you to do well. So while you're filming, while you're getting ready for stuff, you're going to be really harsh with yourself, but your end audience is just really supportive and they love you and they want you to succeed and they're going to help you do that. So keep that in mind when it starts to get scary, when it starts to get overwhelming. No, there are people out there that care and they want you to do well. So you're going to. Especially with COVID times and, people still being kind of shut off, people miss seeing your face. People miss people. This is a great time to get on video in front of people because people miss being around people. And while it's not the same as being in person with people, it does make a pretty big difference than just reading a text post or looking at a static image. Create videos as much as possible to get over to the shyness. You don't have to post them all. Pretty much every single video webinar I have ever taken includes the advice of going live at really weird times. Like, give it a try, go live on Facebook at like 3 a.m. when nobody else is expected to be awake or around, because it'll give you the practice, because again, you'll never get over your nerves unless you do it over and over, but you also don't have to have the expectation of people actually seeing you. Make videos, send them to your friends, put them on your YouTube video or put them on your YouTube channel set as private. Just make them and get them out. Try to create video once a week so I don't forget everything I've learned. Exactly. I made all of those video commercials last year, and then I didn't do anything for like 5 months. And the next time I opened my editing software, I went, oh God, what do I do? I've forgotten everything. You got to continuously do it in order to stay fresh and build a nice base that you can continue learning from. So different kinds of videos you could post. You do Q&As. Simple question and answers, frequently asked questions, or just questions. They can either be live, so you can just go live and have questions that are coming in kind of like this, or they could be pre-submitted. Have people send you questions in advance, whether through email or social media, or just take questions that you have been getting over time and answer them all in one place. People love Q&A videos. Virtual business tours. If you have a storefront business, take a camera and walk through the space, show people where everything is, show them what it looks like, show them why things are in the way they are. This is really appealing because when people are not familiar with their business, they see it and they might either want to come in, or they see that it does offer them something or a setup that does work for them. Do educational videos. Again, you guys are all pretty knowledgeable about whatever it is that you are doing. Share that knowledge with people. You're not giving it away. Nobody's going to not come to your business because you gave it away in a video. It's going to show that you're knowledgeable and that you know what you're talking about for customers. And it's going to provide useful resources that will be shared by other people who probably weren't going to ever buy from you anyway. So educational content is some of the most viewed content in the world. Pretty much everybody has watched a how-to video on YouTube, even simple things like changing a light bulb or clearing out a sink drain. People like to learn things, especially if you can do it charismatically in a short format. Testimonials. If you have a customer that is a really big fan of you and what you do, ask them if you can interview them on camera. Again, we trust other human beings. So if there is somebody external to your organization saying really great things about you and what you do, that can only help you. So see if you can get them on camera, if they would be at all comfortable with it, even if it's just both of you sitting in camera, casually chatting, or just a short, quick little video of them saying something, whatever works for them. The testimonials are super good and super easy to make. Do bios and team intros. If you have multiple people working with you, introduce them. Introduce yourself. Who are you? What do you like? Why are you doing this? What do you do in your free time? Anything like that. Put a human face to your business or organization. It can even be fun if it's somebody that helps you do what you do, but doesn't specifically work for you. You know, introduce your window washer, introduce the delivery guy, whatever helps you, whatever helps your business do what it does. Don't be afraid to pull those people in if they are okay with it. Always get consent with videos and always be patient with people. When you ambush somebody on video, it's probably not going to turn out very well. So make sure you ask people first. You can do product or service videos. Show off what it is you do. And do only one thing per video. Don't cram as much into it. It's not an infomercial. Don't cram as much into it as actually, infomercial is actually a really good example. They'll spend like an hour long on one specific product showing off every single feature. Stay focused on that. And then you can make multiple videos on what you do, but show people what you do rather than just telling them all the time. Behind the scenes footage. How's the setup going? What went into this decision? What goes on your in an average day in your life? What goes into the sausage? If you have currently existing social media accounts, repurpose your most popular posts into video content. So if you've made a post about something and it's gotten lots of engagement, replies, shares, likes, whatever, consider making a video on that subject, because you already now have proof that people are interested in that subject matter. So delve more in depth on it, talk about it more. Now, once you've filmed your video and presumably edited it, what do you do with it then? Put it on your website, whether that's hosting it on another, like a web hosting platform and then embedding it, or if your website has the capacity to post it directly on the website, that's fine. but stick it on your website somewhere. Because your website should be a repository of all of the information about your business. So make sure it's on your website somewhere. You can post it to Facebook. You can post it to Instagram. TikTok is the somewhat newer social media platform on the scene. That's where all the young kids are hanging out. And it is all video. You cannot post anything but video on TikTok. YouTube is the OG. That is the longest running and biggest video platform site. Millions of hours of video are uploaded like every day. It's kind of insane. But you can upload videos to YouTube completely free. Vimeo is a great alternative. Again, it's a website repository site. It's not quite as social as YouTube is, but Vimeo is great. There is limits based on file size unless you get a paid account, but Vimeo is absolutely an option out there. You can also send your videos directly to customers. This might involve putting it in something like Dropbox or some sort of cloud service and sending them the link to access it, or embedding it in a newsletter, but sending it directly to the customer so that they don't have to go hunting for it is a great way to help disperse that video. And then you can always do live video, pretty much any platform you want. This is live video right now. It's happening right now live. There's a nice sense of urgency there. It's a nice sense of involvement because people are involved in the chat and it's happening real time. So I don't have to worry too much about what goes into it, and I don't have to edit it too much. If you are posting video to social media, native video is always best. So what this means is your video is going to perform better if it is uploaded to that platform. Obviously, you can embed a YouTube link on Facebook, but Facebook is not going to share that as widely as if you uploaded the video directly to Facebook. So even if it's just a preview, a clip of it, Instagram and Facebook have, well, I don't know what the upper limit of Facebook is, but Instagram has a much lower amount of time you can upload a video, but it could be just a clip of the main video, and then you can point them to the full video elsewhere once you've gotten their attention, rather than trying to put everything on there. And you do a class on Dropbox. Sure. Send me an email about it so that I know there's an interest, because I will forget after this class. But yeah, I've used Dropbox since college over a decade ago. I do enjoy it fully. That will probably be a very short class though. Okay, so answering Shannon's earlier question, how long should my video be? As long as it needs to be and no longer. As a very naturally verbose person, I can talk about something for an extended period of time. And a lot of it is fluff. So that is why outlines are really great for me, but also editing is really great because then I can say everything I want and then cut out 70% of it. As long as I have the most crucial parts in there, the most important things, I don't have to include every thought related to it. So as short, as tight as you can get it is always better, but also don't cut crucial things. Again, you really need to consider where it is going. Facebook, the ideal range for Facebook is between 15 seconds and 3 minutes. You can post longer, but that is Facebook's own published statistics. Videos within that window do better. Now, as with all of these, the first 3 seconds of the video have to snag people because that is how long people give it a try when it's new. If you can't catch them in those first 3 seconds, they're going to keep scrolling and move on. So make sure your first 3 seconds are the punchiest, but also keep it as short as possible. 15 seconds to 3 minutes sounds pretty long, but it's not. I have been talking for over an hour. Especially, I think 3 minutes is like max a couple paragraphs of written text. Most people on Facebook watch with the sound off. They're scrolling on Facebook when they're at work, in line, watching TV, other stuff is going on. They don't turn the sound on. So your video needs to make sense without sound, whether that's adding captions to your video, having infographics and words. It needs to work with no sound whatsoever because that's how most people are going to see it. Facebook Live. This is, again, a live video, pushes it out to all of your followers. Facebook Live needs to be at least 10 minutes long. You need to give people time to discover that you are talking live. If you want to talk for less than that, record a video and upload it. But I don't see the point of going live on Facebook for only a couple of minutes, because by the time I've noticed the notification, you're already offline. So if you're going live, make sure it's at least 10 minutes long. I think you can go live for like a couple of hours total. A lot of senators and Congress people went live in the last couple of years, and we're just live reading bills for an extended period of time. So it's an option out there. Instagram, the key time frame in Instagram is 26 seconds to under a minute. Instagram videos automatically loop, but you cannot post a video longer than 1 minute on Instagram. It does cut it off. Again, with Instagram, most people watch it with the sound off and they continue scrolling if it doesn't captivate them. So make sure you have captions or infographic text, something to make it work without the sound on. There is IGTV where you can post longer videos and it does link to your Instagram, but Instagram itself, you actually cannot post a video longer than 1 minute. Instagram stories are actually even shorter. They are only 15 seconds. You can post subsequent videos that happen one after the other so that you can have a longer time to talk, but each story is actually only 15 seconds. So super short. People constantly criticize the younger generation has a shorter attention span. TikToks are all largely like under a minute. It depends on your watch style. A lot of people do consume content very rapidly in very short bursts. My roommate watches a bajillion videos every single day and she cannot finish a single TV episode. And that drives me crazy. I'm a person who does watch several hours long YouTube videos. So it's different for everybody. There's not one hard and fast rule. Just figure out what works for you, what works for your content. YouTube, the best time is between 6 and 8 minutes. You can upload a video of any length to YouTube, and YouTube is now doing YouTube Shorts, which are again like 30-second to a minute content, very, very short content, because they're trying to keep up with TikTok. But the best videos on YouTube tend to be 6 to 8 minutes long, partly because that is what most people go to YouTube to watch. Other part is because that is pretty much a good sweet spot to justify ad runs. And so therefore YouTube will show it to more people. Most people on YouTube watch with the sound on. YouTube is where you go to watch video, not come across video incidentally while you're doing other stuff. So your audio needs to be pretty good on YouTube. So I hope that answers the question, Shannon. The best time to grow, it depends on what you're doing. So tools to help. I mentioned Wistia earlier when we were talking about lighting. Wistia's series on getting started with video is one of my favorites. I find it incredibly helpful. Let me pull this up over here. So this is all completely free to use. They've got them broken down into really nice short videos. So they've got the preparing for your shoot, 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 4 minutes. Writing a script, choosing a background, how to use your camera, look good on a webcam, shooting video on an iPhone, using a DSLR, choosing a lens, how to make a video by yourself. And all of these, again, this one's 43 minutes, but most of them are very short. Audio, for those of you that were asking about audio. Lighting, for those of you that were asking about lighting. Here's a run on a ring light, a 1-minute video on unintimidating lighting setup. The $100 DIY video lighting kit is the one I referenced earlier. And then they've got really great videos on editing, choosing a software, best practices, choosing the best takes, trimming the clips, adding music and B-roll. And most of these are a minute or less. And then 10 simple editing tips is 22 minutes long. So these are all really great. They're all completely free to watch. I do genuinely recommend Wistia. I find it incredibly helpful. Come on, why did you do that? There we go. Snow Isle Libraries is the one I mentioned. They've got the LinkedIn Learning. So if you go to the resources/apps page, again, I will send these files out so you'll be able to just click on them. At the top, as of now, they do sometimes reshuffle and reorganize their website. For example, this used to be on the business page and it no longer is. But right now, LinkedIn Learning is spotlighted at the very top of the page. New videos are constantly coming out, so there might be even newer ones than the ones I'm recommending here. But my favorite ones that I personally have used are creating online videos with the iPhone and creating online videos with Android phones by Nick Haraz. His videos are fantastic. They're really easy to watch. And if you've never done a LinkedIn Learning web video, they have outlines below them that have split in to show you which what topics are covered at which time code, and you can actually skip through them. So if you don't need the intro section, you can skip ahead to what you do want and ignore everything else, and it's fine. Francis Torres and Richard Harrington have really great videos on virtual tours, both video, photo, and VR. And there are so many good editing ones depending on what program you want to use. So yeah, I really, really like the LinkedIn Learning classes. They're super duper in-depth and highly focused on whatever you need. And you can go at whatever pace, you can speed it up, you can slow it down, you can jump sections, replay them over and over. You can read the transcript if you're not a video person. So much helpful stuff. The editing class I actually took on Premiere Pro actually came with files for me to download so that I could then put them into my own Premiere Pro and actually make the exact same product that the person in the video was making, so I could follow along step by step. And a lot of classes have cool workbooks and files like that. So highly, highly recommend. They're going to go way more in depth than anything I could ever have time to do in these classes. So some final tips. We did burn through this pretty quickly, so it's totally your guys' time to ask questions. Anything you like to know, I'm happy to answer it for you. But biggest number one is use natural lighting whenever possible. It is the most flattering for people and it's the most low tech. It can be a little hard to control though. So if you do need to upgrade later, that's fine. But natural lighting always looks better than fluorescence. And the best, lights you can buy actually mimic natural lighting. So make sure you clean up your background. I did not follow my own tip this time. My table is kind of a mess and I still have my Halloween decorations out, but it is super important before before you start filming something to just look around the space, see what's in frame and pick up some stuff. Fold the blankets, put the toys away, run the vacuum really quick. It's little subtle things that people might not fixate on, but it's subtly distracting in a way they might not realize. So get them to focus as much as possible by cleaning up your background before you start filming. Practice makes, be careful of music playing in the background. Again, turn off any radios, mute your phone. Even just if you have a fun ringtone on your phone, that playing for just a few seconds can absolutely get you copyright claimed. And depending on the site, that could either be they mute your video, which is disastrous for a lot of you. They take your video down or they penalize your account if you do it repeatedly. So be very careful with music and find some royalty-free music to use or some music that you can license specifically for videos. Practice makes perfect. You are not going to get better at it without doing it over and over and over again. Keep trying and don't be afraid of those mistakes early on. You might look at some other videos to get ideas, to get inspiration. You are never, ever going to be able to match that without the hundreds of hours that person has also put into it. It takes time to find your cadence, to find your voice. It takes time to get good at editing. It takes time to learn about audio and lighting, to slowly improve your setup. Do videos regardless of where you're at in the project, because you're going to learn, you're going to get better as you continuously improve your skills, your editing, and your equipment. But you got to do it first. You are your biggest critic. You are always going to nitpick and find things to hate way more than anybody else watching your video. Give yourself some patience, give yourself some space. You're going to get better at it. You're going to learn. It's going to be fine. You're always going to be meaner to yourself than anyone else is ever going to be. Just try it and have fun. If you're interested in video, just make a video, give it a try. You're not going to destroy the world. You're not going to destroy your entire reputation unless you do something really heinous, like super racist or something like that. You just do it. Have fun with it. If you mess up, if you're goofy, it's fine. Who among us does not love the blooper reel? Give it a try. Don't stress too much about it. And at some point, you just have to pull the trigger and just do it. Don't fuss with it endlessly because you literally could. So question time. I'm going to start reading questions from the comments. Go ahead and put them either in chat or Q&A, whichever feels good to you. If you run into questions outside of this, you have a thought that pops into your head that I didn't answer or something you'd like explained more in depth, please feel free to email me. I am genuinely happy to answer any questions, provide any resources that I can. My email is right there on screen. Again, please feel free. So this is the last workshop of the year. This is the last one we had scheduled. I am working on classes to start in mid to late January. So please keep an eye out for that. We do have a newsletter you could sign up for on the Goosefoot website. If you want to go ahead and do that, we'll email you about classes once that schedule comes out. Starting in the new year, we are going to go to hybrid classes. So we're going to open up our classroom again. We're going to start having in-person classes for anybody who wants that. But for those of you that are too far away or you're still not comfortable joining people in person, it's totally fine. We're also going to get the equipment we need to do hybrid classes so that they will be streamed on Zoom at the same time. So you'll be able to choose in the new year. I'm really looking forward to that. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to go ahead and stop the screen recording, and then I will answer the questions. So again, please pop any of those you have into the comments.